Welcome to our weekly show, where we like to take apart and really examine a hit film. Expect the unexpected, bold takes, surprising twists, and a whole new way to look at the movies you thought you knew. And hey, if you're enjoying the ride with us, be sure to share the show, leave us a rating, and follow for more of these mind-blowing movie breakdowns. Today, buckle up for our cinematic journey. We're going deep into the wonderfully weird world of Monty Python and the Holy Grail, imagining all the excitement if it were having a 50th anniversary re-release in 2025.
It's amazing to think it's been around that long.
I know, right? And, our listeners sent in some really great thoughts about this film, this true comedic cornerstone. They're curious about what makes it so timeless, and how people first reacted way back when.
Yeah, those initial reactions are fascinating.
Okay, so ready to unpack all this?
Absolutely, let's do it.
All right. So we've got all this information, all this background on the movie. We've got insights into its inherent absurdity, the initial critical reviews, which were certainly a sight to behold. We've got stuff on the passionate fans it's gathered over the years, some behind-the-scenes stories that'll make you raise an eyebrow, and, of course, its lasting impact on pop culture, which is huge.
It really is. It's woven into the fabric of comedy.
So our mission, if we choose to accept it, is to distill all of that, all the essential elements, and really grasp why this film, with its, let's face it, lo-fi charm and absolutely surreal humor, continues to resonate with audiences generation after generation.
It's a question worth exploring. So where should we begin?
Well, how about we dive right into the heart of the beast, the film itself, and its unique approach to, well, storytelling.
Right to the source. I like it.
What we know actually describes it as an absurdist pilgrimage through mud and mirth.
That's pretty spot on, I have to say.
I know, right? It's perfect. So we got King Arthur on this quest for the Holy Grail, this divine mission, But it's not your typical epic tale.
Oh, not at all.
It's more like a series of, well, hilariously deranged encounters, one after the other.
And that's a really crucial point to understand its enduring appeal.
Yeah.
This isn't a typical hero's journey with a clear beginning, middle, and end.
No, not at all.
What's so fascinating about Holy Grail is its episodic nature.
Yeah.
You get these incredibly iconic, self-contained scenes. I mean, you've got the taunting Frenchman at the very beginning just setting the tone right away.
Oh, those French taunts. So good.
Then you've got the Black Knight, a legend. Then there's the knights who say "knee," demanding shrubberies.
Right.
That surprisingly violent killer rabbit who could forget that.
Yeah.
And of course, who could leave out the Bridge of Death with those impossible riddles.
I mean, come on. What is the airspeed velocity of an unladen swallow?
Exactly. And it's less about a plot driving everything forward and more about these perfectly crafted sketches, all adding to this wonderfully chaotic atmosphere.
Yeah. And the overall vibe of the film is just, well, it's so distinct. What we know highlights this anarchic absurdity, this constant stream of silliness that just washes over you. And you can't talk about Holy Grail without mentioning its low-budget look, which, funnily enough, becomes part of its charm.
Oh, absolutely.
All that mud, those perpetually gray skies, and, of course, the intentionally cheap effects like the coconuts for horses.
It's true. That low-budget aesthetic isn't a negative here. It's completely baked into the film's identity. If anything, it emphasizes the absurdity, right?
Oh, definitely.
It makes this grand, important-sounding quest feel even more ridiculous, and I think that's the brilliance of it. By not taking itself seriously, by not striving for realism, the comedy can go to these wonderfully unexpected places.
And on a deeper level, the film is dripping with satire.
Oh, absolutely.
It takes aim at, well, just about everything. Heroism, mythology, national pride, even religious dogma. Nothing is sacred.
And we can't forget the skewering of class systems with Dennis the Peasant and his anarcho-syndicalist commune. Pure comedic gold.
That scene is brilliant. The way they spend all that time talking about political structures with all the jargon within this tiny group of peasants. It just perfectly captures how complex and often ridiculous political ideology can be.
Right. So we've talked about the film's unique style, its humor, and its satirical edge. But I'm curious, with such an unconventional approach, how was this film received back in 1975?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, here's this incredibly unique and absurd film hitting theaters. What did the critics make of it?
And from what we know, it seems like the reaction was pretty mixed.
Oh, yeah, definitely mixed. The diehard fans, the ones who loved Monty Python's Flying Circus on TV, they were pretty much on board from the start.
Yeah, but the mainstream critics, well, they were a bit more perplexed.
To say the least. I mean, there's this fantastic quote from Vincent Canby in the New York Times. He called Holy Grail a marvelously particular kind of lunatic endeavor.
That's a pretty good summation, actually.
Right, and he praised its mix of sophomoric and blandly sophisticated humor, which I think really captures that unique duality of the film.
You have these lowbrow gags right alongside these very sharp, clever observations about society.
Exactly. And then you've got the Variety review. They labeled it an effervescent film spoof, which isn't bad, but they also pointed out its uneven quality.
Yeah, and they suggested that it might appeal mainly to, well, existing Python fans.
So, kind of a niche thing, according to them.
It's really interesting, though, because when you look at the reviews from back then, there aren't many truly scathing critiques, not from major publications anyway. It wasn't so much outright rejection as it was bewilderment.
Yeah, like they weren't quite sure what to make of it.
Exactly. Maybe they were expecting something more traditional because of the King Arthur and the Holy Grail setting, And then the film goes and completely subverts all those expectations.
And that makes the film's journey all the more impressive, right? Because from those early uncertain reviews, it grew into this huge cult classic.
It really did. Despite not being an immediate blockbuster hit, it steadily built this devoted following.
And over time, that cult status turned into something even bigger, genuine reverence, I'd say. The sheer quotability of the film, its unique voice, the satire, all of that has contributed to its position as a true comedy classic.
It's amazing how the things that initially puzzled some critics, like the absurdity and the lack of a straightforward narrative, became the very things that drew such a passionate fan base.
Right. And I mean, just look at the scores it gets on aggregator sites like Rotten Tomatoes and Metacritic.
They really speak for themselves.
96% on Rotten Tomatoes, 93% audience score, and a 91 on Metacritic with a 9.0 user score. Those are amazing numbers.
It's clear that people really truly love this film, even decades later. And it's not just passive viewing. There's a whole active fan base with its own inside jokes and lingo.
Oh, yeah. What we know even has a whole section on this. We're talking about lines that have become part of everyday conversation, iconic quotes that everyone recognizes.
'Tis but a scratch. She turned me into a newt. I got better.
The classic hamster and elderberries line.
You hear any of those, and you know exactly where they're from.
And let's not forget the ultimate question, the one that keeps us up at night. African or European swallows?
It's a question for the ages. And what's so fantastic is that some of the film's most iconic bits, like the coconut horses, were born out of pure necessity.
Right.
They had no money, so they had to get creative. And that limitation led to one of the funniest running gags in cinematic history.
It really is a testament to their ingenuity. They turned a problem into a defining feature. And the online presence of the film is just as strong.
Absolutely.
What we know mentions fan hubs, like the Monty Python subreddit and the Monty Python fandom wiki. These are places where fans to this day are dissecting every scene, quoting lines, and just celebrating the film. It's incredible.
And it goes way beyond online discussions.
Oh, yeah.
You see it at conventions, with people cosplaying as their favorite characters. The Knights of the Round Table, Tim the Enchanter, even the Black Knight with his detachable limbs. And let's not forget Spamalot, the musical.
Oh, yeah.
A Tony Award-winning musical that took Holy Grail and reimagined it for the stage, introducing a whole new generation to its unique brand of humor. And that's a testament to its lasting appeal, its cult status.
Absolutely. Now, let's step behind the curtain, so to speak, and delve into some behind-the-scenes secrets. The making of this film sounds almost as wild as the film itself.
Almost.
First of all, the budget woes are legendary. They had so little money to work with. And the fact that actual rock bands, Pink Floyd, Led Zeppelin, Jethro Tull, Genesis stepped in to help fund the film is just mind-blowing. I mean, Pink Floyd reportedly used profits from Dark Side of the Moon to back this project.
It just goes to show how much influence Monty Python's Flying Circus had even before Holy Grail. These were major musical acts, and they were fans. They believed in the Python's vision, and they were willing to put their money where their mouths were.
And the story behind the coconut horses just keeps getting better with each retelling. They couldn't afford horses, so they just grabbed some coconuts and boom, instant comedy gold.
A perfect example of making the best out of a difficult situation.
Right. It speaks to the film's resourceful and irreverent spirit. And speaking of resourcefulness, they faced a lot of challenges filming in Scotland.
Oh, definitely.
Had all these permits revoked, and so they had to use Doune Castle for practically every castle in the film.
It's like one castle playing multiple roles.
Exactly. It adds to that homemade, charmingly chaotic feel. Now let's talk about the directors, Terry Gilliam and Terry Jones.
Ah, yes. the two Terrys.
From what we know, it sounds like their collaboration was, well, intense. Jones was more focused on performance and pacing, while Gilliam was all about the visuals, the animation, and those different approaches, they led to some clashes.
It's not surprising, really.
No, but I think those clashes, those creative differences, they actually contributed to the film's unique and memorable style.
Tension can breed creativity sometimes.
Exactly. It's important to acknowledge the personal struggles that Graham Chapman, who played King Arthur, was facing during filming.
Yes, absolutely.
Who's battling alcoholism. But even with that going on, he delivered an amazing performance. That kind of stoic, slightly exasperated straight man in the middle of all the craziness.
Absolutely. And speaking of craziness, can we talk about the meta jokes in this film?
Oh, yes. The meta jokes.
The scene where the animator has a fatal heart attack while drawing the monster. Brilliant.
Pure Python genius. It's like they're acknowledging the filmmaking process within the film itself.
And the ending with the police. That wasn't planned, was it?
I know, right? The famous historian gag was just supposed to be another random joke, but then they decided to cut the film short, and it accidentally provided the perfect, albeit bizarre, ending.
It's that blend of intention and serendipity that makes the film so special.
So, all things considered, what is the lasting legacy of Monty Python and the Holy Grail? Why is it still so relevant today?
Well, I think it really solidified Monty Python's place in comedy history. They proved that intelligent, unconventional silliness could find a massive audience.
Oh, absolutely.
And in many ways, they perfected the art of the feature-length sketch film. It's hard to overstate their influence on subsequent absurdist and satirical comedy.
Right, the use of non sequiturs, breaking the fourth wall,
Yeah.
all these techniques that have become staples of this kind of humor.
Exactly. Now, what we know makes the point that while Holy Grail brilliantly parodied the fantasy genre, it didn't necessarily change it entirely.
Yeah, that's an interesting point.
It didn't make fantasy films suddenly become all comedic, but it did set an incredibly high bar for how to approach the genre with a satirical lens. And it definitely helped launch the individual film careers of the Pythons, especially Terry Gilliam with his later work.
And the references and homages are everywhere, in films, TV shows like The Simpsons, video games like World of Warcraft. It's woven into the fabric of pop culture.
You're right. And what's truly remarkable is its continued relevance. I mean, it's a product of the 70s with some very specific cultural references, but the core targets of its satire, pretension, bureaucracy, blind faith, these are all timeless.
They are.
That willingness to poke fun at anything and everything, that anarchic spirit, that's what keeps it feeling fresh even today. And, considering what our listener sent in about the film's satirical elements, it's no surprise that this aspect contributes so much to its enduring appeal.
So what does it all mean for you, the viewer, the listener?
Mm-hmm.
Monty Python and the Holy Grail isn't just a bunch of silly jokes strung together. It's a masterclass in subverting expectations, finding the humor in the absurd, and really questioning the stories we tell ourselves.
It really is.
Its journey from those initial uncertain reviews to becoming a beloved classic and then an enduring cult phenomenon, it's a testament to the power of originality, to the impact of a truly unique comedic vision. Hopefully this cinematic journey, this trek through mud and mirth, has given you a new perspective on this iconic film.
And as you ponder the airspeed velocity of your own unladen thoughts, maybe consider this. What other works of art, ones that might seem chaotic or strange at first glance, might hold deeper meaning beneath the surface?
That's a great thought.
Perhaps revisiting a film, a book, a piece of music that initially struck you as odd could reveal some unexpected treasures. Thanks for joining us on this cinematic journey. Until next time, may your shrubberies be plentiful and your encounters with killer rabbits be few and far between.
And none of them shall pass.
Except the one.
Right, except that one.
You've got it.
All right, see you next time.
See you then.